Welcome back to the Red Booth Show. I'm here with Bjorn Englen, and you were just telling us about the story of when you were first started to play with Yngwie Malmsteen.
2007, and went on and toured all over the world with him for 5 years. So it was cool. It's a good experience. It was a dream come true. When I was a kid, I always
23.
I always wanted to play with him. I was how old was I? 30.
No, 23 when you were with Quiet Riot, but then
let me do the math. 36.
36.
Yeah, so this is 13 years later. Yeah,
Whoa.
just about. Yeah. Something
Cool.
like that, yeah.
And you toured all over the world.
Well, we did kind of. Yeah, we did America, Europe, Asia, Russia, Israel. Yeah, we're all over the place. Yeah.
Can you tell me a story about what of the times when you were on tour with him?
There's one story that's was pretty interesting. We had a rehearsal in Miami, and for the next tour, and we were learning new songs. Then we were going to play a one-off show in Puerto Rico, playing the old set, and it was kind of like I hadn't played those songs in a while, so it was a little I couldn't quite remember the set list exactly because he does 2 guitar solos. So he goes into a guitar solo, and right before the show, I did a lot of traveling, a lot of rehearsals. I was tired, so I had 2 Red Bulls right before the show. Live and learn, right? So I'm going, okay, I can just go to the bathroom whenever he goes into the solo. So I'm thinking this first solo is the long solo. It's not. It's the short solo. I'm thinking I got 10 minutes. So I take off and I go to the bathroom, and it's these long hallways. There's a right, and then a left, and then a right. I could barely find my way back to the dressing room. So I'm in the bathroom, and I hear him starting the next song. And I'm going like, okay, now I got to find my way back. So it's really like Spinal Tap, for real.
Oh my God.
And I go like, I think it's this way. And I just heard music through the hallways echoing like this. And I'm like, okay, so where do I go now? Finally made my way back to the stage. Esther ending the song. And the guys in the band are freaking out and looking at me like, oh my God. And I'm like, hey, what am I going to do?
So the whole song had no bass.
The keyboard play covered it on the keyboard.
Really?
Yeah.
That's interesting.
And Yngwie never turned around. He probably thought my bass was broken or something, which actually it was. And he didn't know that. But right before the show, I came out 10 seconds late because I was, the strap
trying to
broke.
fix it. Oh.
And it was dark, and my second bass was tucked away, and I couldn't. The tech wasn't near me, and that was a weird thing too. So that how the show started was weird too. I walk on stage, and everything. I'm like all like nervous because my the equipment and the songs, I haven't played the songs in a while, and I look up, and the very first person I see in the first row is a friend of mine from LA, and we look at each other. I'm like, what are you doing here? And she didn't know. She couldn't remember that I was in Yngwie's band, so we were both like, oh my God.
Oh, she didn't even know you were going to be there?
I told her, but she forgot, and she was there to do some recording or something like that. And
How funny.
it was a very bizarre night. So
Well, you made it through.
I made it through. He never said anything, and I think he knows now through, I've told the story a couple of times. So. But
it's just wild what you have to do because you're live performing, and if whatever goes wrong, it just goes wrong, and you have to kind of deal with it and keep going, right?
Yeah, and it's a thing like, it's harder to play live than being a studio musician because live you only have one chance. There's no rewinding, there's no fixing, there's no editing.
And how many people were there in that crowd watching you guys?
About 5,000, I think. It was like a pretty big theater.
Yeah.
Yeah, 5,000 is pretty big for a theater, so it was huge.
Wow.
So it was, and I can play in front of 60,000 if I don't know anybody. It's like, oh yeah, no problem, whatever. But
if you don't know anybody, so you get nervous if there's someone you know.
Well, if I'm having issues with something, because I don't want it to, I don't know. It's always been like that.
That's so funny.
It's very, very bizarre.
Well, stage fright is a very weird thing. I've always asked people, like, how do you deal with it? Like, do you still have it? Do you still get stage fright?
From time to time, yeah. I kind of got past that. And I think a lot of it actually boils down to knowing the material. If you've known the songs extremely well, the worst that could happen most likely won't happen. So you kind of wipe that out.
Right.
Now, I've had shoes break on stage right in front of the audience, and I've had all kinds of weird shit that's embarrassing. But nothing's worse than, like, messing up a part that the audience knows really well. If it's a famous song and you mess it up. So,
right.
And stuff happens. And you can't stand around worrying about that. You just got to relax and play. Because
Yeah.
if you're always uptight about that, you're not going to play as well. It's
Right.
going to show. So you kind of learn how to, go beyond that, and you have to,
Yeah.
But, I mean,
That's good advice though, because if you really practice that song, or you're like totally confident in the fact that you can play that no matter what, then it helps a lot.
It does.
Yeah.
So over practicing, if you want to call that, is good. Before a tour, just practice as much as possible.
Cool.
Yeah,
Well,
that's my advice to any musician.
very good advice. And for singers too, I'm sure it's the same way. Just sing
Absolutely.
your heart out before
Yeah.
you're going to perform.
A lot of singers, I hate to say it, use lyrics on stage, whatever, monitors or whatever, but they try not to, and you can't always rely on that. You might be running away to the side of the stage, and all of a sudden you're singing something, you go like, what was that again? And so you kind of have to know your stuff,
Yeah. Well, even these days, some of them do lip singing.
Yeah. That's not live.
It's not good. It's not
That's
good.
cheating.
I know.
That's definitely
We
cheating.
won't say who, but
Yeah.
okay. Well, we have to take a break,
Okay.
and we'll be right back with Bjorn Englen. Hey, I'm talking with Bjorn Englen. Keep watching the rest of our interview by clicking here.